Hello friends, I'm Marcin. I'm an economist with more than 10 years of experience in banking and foundation, and I use extensively Python and lots of other programming languages for performing my daily tasks. So my advice to you, there are two main rules for learning Python or any other programming language. First, you do not have to learn all the rules by heart. I know lots of people who want to learn programming, but they find very boring learning by heart programming language rules. So my advice, do not learn by heart. Just understand the concept. Second rule, you could not become familiar with programming language just by reading books, watching lectures. You have to apply what you have learned. Just apply what you have learned yesterday on your today's tasks, and that knowledge will remain by yourself. So let's dive into a few next chapters of learning Python. Enjoy! Before you begin your coding experience, you need to have an IDE, which is so-called Integrated Development Environment, the place you'll write your code later. I know several types of IDEs, but now I use for data science Spider IDE, which is part of Anaconda package. To get the Anaconda, you have to go to anaconda.com, scroll down to get the links of executables, and choose the right one for your operating system, Windows, Mac OS, Linux, etc. After installing the IDE, you will have the look you see on the screen. The left pane is for writing code. The right upper part is for storing your variables. And the right downward part is the console, the place you'll write your code and also make some calculations. So let's turn to variable creation. To create a variable, you have to write the name of the variable, equals, and the value for the variable. Imagine a variable as a box where you store your information. For example, my wallet size equals 100. And also one more important thing, the variable naming conventions. This is the camel case, that is the first word is of lowercase and the other words of uppercase. And also remember to decorate your code with comments. So here you see on the right part the variables we have created, and on the console we can check whether our variables by typing their names. And remember to write correct name for your variable. Now let's turn to basic operations with numeric variables we have created. You can do adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, raising to power, getting the remainder, and many more operations with numeric variables. Here, by telling you the numeric variable term, I assume integers and floating point numbers. Now let's see all these operations in the Spider. Here you see the nice habit of decorating the code with comments so as other developers could understand your code. So here we create a variable which is the total training cost, which equals the training hours multiplied by the cost per hour variable. Remember that we have created all these variables previously. And also one more very interesting operator in Python. You can write, for example, plus equals 1, which is the operator for incrementing. So you increment training hours by 1. To get the values of your variables, you should include them in print statement to get their value in the console. So let's look after running on the console. We see 4.5 and 17.5 variable values. You can find other operators on the Python official website. This section is about using Python built-in functions. There are lots of built-in functions and also functions from the math class that can be used with the variables. So imagine you have a negative variable named my negative variable, which equals -10, and you want to get the positive of your negative variable. So you create my positive variable, which equals ABS function, and pass your negative variable as an argument to this function. Let's print our positive variable to make sure that we got the right one. Before printing, let's comment out the other print statements so as they are not mixed with our results. The result is +10, which is the absolute of our -10. Now let's use function from a math class. To use these functions, we have to import math library. There is a convention in Python that you import all necessary libraries at the beginning of the code. So you see importing the math library. Now let's use one of the functions from this library called pow, which is the raising power function. Let's create raising power variable, which equals pow function, and we pass the variable to be raised to power as an argument. We raise here to second power, and let's print to see the result. Before that, let's comment out other print statements not to get mixed with other results. Let's see what happened in the console. We get 100, which is the second power of 10. Now let's compare it to variables. There are various comparison operators like equal, greater than or equal, less than or equal, greater than, less than, not equal. By comparing the numeric values of these numeric variables, we get information about their relative values. Let's see them in action. So imagine we have two variables. The first one is like your debt size, which is a negative value, as it's your obligation to another person. Now let's get our capacity to pay debt. How we get the capacity to pay debt? We compare, for example, your wallet size to your debt. So let's create a variable capacity repayment, which equals the comparison of my wallet size variable with absolute value of your debt. So the resulting value of this variable is either true or false. That is, either your wallet size is greater than your debt and you can pay your debt, or vice versa. Let's print to see the result. The result is true, that is, you can repay your debt, fortunately. Now let's move on to changing the types of variables or converting between the types. You remember we had training hours variable, which was a floating point variable with a value of 3.5. And we also incremented by 1, and the resulting variable is now 4.5. We can convert it to integer simply by passing its value to int function. Let's print to see the result. Training hours integer variable. You see 4.5 is now 4. Now let's make sure that we have now let's convert the integer variable we got to the floating. That is this is the reverse operation. We should pass training hours integer variable to float function. You remember when we were converting to integer, we were passing to int function. You have seen that integer that the resulting value was float 4.5. 4.0, sorry. So now let's make sure that we got the right types. Let's get the type of training hours float variable and training hours integer variable. We do so by passing these variables to type function. Let's see the result. You see here that training hours float variable is a float type and training hours integer is of integer type.